Welcome to another episode of the Quiet Work podcast, where we talk about the behind the scenes, the quiet work that you usually don't hear or see on social media. I'm bringing in an expert when it comes to health, fitness, nutrition, the all American David Swanson. David, please introduce yourself and tell us about your background. Let's start with that.
Hello. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. David Swanson, known as All American Dave through nickname given to me through some of my clients that were professional poker players, but go way back to, just an athlete growing up and love competitive outlets and getting the most out of my body. And over the years, got a little bit older, started competing in some natural bodybuilding shows. And I did my first natural bodybuilding show in Vegas, like 2006, I believe. And it was the first time I ever really applied this perfect diet for 12 weeks at a time, with counting every single macronutrient and never missing a workout, and really just focusing on the diet 100% that I really never really challenged myself to. And through that process, I achieved a physique that I never knew was possible. And a light bulb went off of my mind because I was starting to dabble with personal training at the time. And I just realized, wow, if I could get people to eat like this, they could change their lives in just a short amount of time. And that kind of became what I started doing for my clients, was started training some people and getting them to eat the food in the right portions and the right macros, and help them understand just how it's not easy. I used to always say the recipe for success in fitness is not easy, but it's pretty simple. You just need to apply basic principles and be consistent over a long period of time, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, 16 weeks. And so through that process, I've obviously gotten really good shape doing a natural bodybuilding show, and started getting more clients. And before you know it, I'm training some famous poker players, Antonio Esfandiari and Jennifer Tilly and Phil Locke, and all these really well-known poker players. And I had never really been at the World Series of Poker, but I was watching as these guys were going to play poker from noon to midnight or later, and not really taking any food with them. And I'm like, I got these really famous players under my belt. I need to look good as a trainer, so I'm going to make sure that they're eating right. So I started taking food down to them at the table while they're playing at the World Series of Poker, the food that I was cooking for them. And that just kind of spun into the All American Day food truck, which was at the World Series of Poker from 2013 to 2019, or 2021 actually. And yeah, I mean, my story goes. I get a little sidetracked from time to time because there's so much to it. But the
Please.
long and the short was is through that process.
I'll be curious to hear why a poker player would be interested in nutrition or in like having someone who takes care of their meals, nutrition, etc. Because I mean, obviously, all they need is brain power and have the ability to sit at the table and read the room and play poker. So, what was their goal or the mission?
It's funny because you have this when you think of gambling and poker, you used to think of sitting around smoking cigars and drinking alcohol and stuff. But as poker and online poker has developed and grown, you have this younger generation of guys with disposable income, and there's the kind of a two-part thing. First is like it kind of started with these young guys who are in Vegas with money. Kind of, I wouldn't call them traditionally like the athlete. Not necessarily. I mean, it's broadened a lot, but your traditional like math guy wasn't necessarily the super athlete and guy that was good with the girls and whatnot. But these guys had these disposable income and they wanted to be in good shape. So there's that aspect of it. But there's a huge correlation, as you already know, between your brain power and your cognitive abilities and what kind of food and fuel you're fueling your body with. So you look at a poker player in nature, they're sitting for long periods of time under high stress, and every single decision matters. And so the degradation of your thought processes or your brain power over long periods of time without good fuel entering your body, one small decision in poker could lead to a disastrous outcome. And so there's a huge correlation between the two, even though it doesn't seem like it. Burning fuel into your body is going to help your brain operate better under high stress situations, hydration and fuel. And these are what I really focus on with those guys. So it was cool they kind of started from a perspective of these guys just wanted to be in good shape and go to the pool parties and when they weren't playing. But what started happening was they started feeling better and they started making better decisions over the long haul and all this correlation. And then the science is really catch.
Cool. So I'll be curious to hear if your poker players were, did you put them in a state of ketosis or did you run them on glucose? Was it mostly sugar that was helping them operate at the table the best performance?
Yeah, so what I found is basically the brain operates on like they say on average like 20 grams of glucose an hour. It's the easiest form of fuel for the brain to use. So there's the ketosis thing, and then that forces your body to use ketones and get into a different form of energy. What I found was best is just to just give just enough to get to the next meal without overdoing it, without getting too much of an insulin spike, really clean, healthy burning carbohydrates. And I tried to put them on about 35 grams of carbohydrates per meal and trying to get them to eat like 4 meals a day. That was just every 2.5, 3 hours, they were gonna eat another meal and just keep them on sweet potatoes, brown rice, just clean, simple burning carbohydrates, not breads and sugars and pastas and stuff. Just tried to keep it the cleanest fuel based on my experience in the bodybuilding arena and then sports and things. Just felt like keeping them out of ketosis was the goal without overfueling them.
Makes sense. Yes, I agree. I mean, I've done both for many, many years, and I feel like glucose, it's probably gonna give you that better brain power. Shorter term, I mean, unless you have to go without food for longer periods of time, then perhaps ketosis will be easier because fats are, have more calories per gram and also last longer. So if you need to go without food, perhaps that would be an option. But that would be definitely carbs are a better option for that. And also, you've mentioned in the beginning bodybuilding, but natural bodybuilding. I didn't even know natural bodybuilding existed in the United States. I had recently, well, a couple of months ago, actually right before my daughter was born. So it was like 9, 10 months ago.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. One of the biggest Polish fitness YouTubers here visit us, and with his fiance, and they recently started a huge show in Poland, and they want to take it Europe wide, plus maybe later on in the United States. But national bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
They've been doing content since I was pretty much a kid, and they're the same age. So it was interesting to see how far they've come over the years. Now they have nutrition, they have drinks, energy drinks, and all kinds of things, huge businesses, and now the natural bodybuilding. So I'll be curious to hear about your experience with that. What led you to get into natural bodybuilding? Why natural versus the traditional way? And who was kind of like your role figure when it comes to like built bodybuilding in the early days?
Yeah, I mean, I used to, obviously Arnold is like the guy who was the oak, and watching movies as a kid and seeing this huge, bigger than life guy, and just aspiring to, as a young man, like, oh, I want to start lifting weights, and then the more you learn, the more you start diving into things and you realize, wow, there's things that are achievable naturally that are phenomenal, but what we see on stage in Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these guys you see is it's not attainable. Most of it's not attainable naturally. So I always had like a lot of guys just you want to be big and strong, like your dad and bigger than your dad if you can be. And but as I grew up, I just wanted to see what I was achievable naturally, what really could be possible. And when I did my first show, I didn't really know much. I was just trying to see what I could do. I was trying to hold myself accountable to I was always in decent shape, but I wanted to see what I could do if I could get in great shape. And through that process, what I realized was although yes, it's not attainable to get to the cartoonish size of some of these bodybuilders you see on the Olympia stage. What was possible was still beyond what I believed in my own mind I could achieve. And through that process, it kind of goes. I kind of realized that too often, so many people take the short route and they take the quick, easier route to get to their goals. But with that comes all these side effects and all these possible negative effects. And I just thought I could be a guy who could inspire people to their natural capacity a chance to really go for all that they could do without any help other than clean eating, good working out, and just good sound program. And I had a early on coach named Eric Brozer who was really good at big in fitness, and he was a natural pro, and he kind of inspired me to take a shot at a natural bodybuilding show. So I hired him to be my coach, and still to this day, he's somebody I look to for mentorship and leadership in this avenue of keeping it natural. And TRT, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's the thing for guys. Now it's even into your 20s, but it used to be 30s and 40s. Now people are starting TRT, which is just another way of saying synthetic testosterone, which is what we consider steroids. And I see these guys getting great results and having all this energy and feeling amazing, but at what cost are they doing this? They're becoming a slave to the needle. They have to do this forever. It's not something that they're starting and stopping. They're staying on it forever. So I look at it like, to some people it could be an incredible help, but I believe if you're not checking every box naturally, meaning you're taking care of your sleep schedule, you're taking care of your training, and you're really, really, really focusing on your hydration and nutrition, if you're not doing all of those things first before you decide to choose to go to, I say, the dark side or the needle side, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because what we're capable of, what our bodies can achieve through complete natural methodologies is actually astounding. And it's sustainable. Like, you don't need anything other than great nutrition and good discipline and just consistency. And so I just kind of got thrust into this, not necessarily the big spotlight or anything, but I became the guy who was just a proponent of, hey, let's eat right. Let's start there. Let's get your diet dialed perfectly and see what your can you achieve your goals naturally. And the fact is most people can. It's just a willingness to do it, right?
Makes sense. But what was his name? Your coach's name?
Eric Brozer. He's known as Merlin in the fitness industry, and he's a coach. He coaches IFBB professional bodybuilders and things like that that are using steroids. And he was a natural pro years ago, and he's written for Ironman magazine and quite a few quite a few different bodybuilding publications. He's been in the industry for a long, long time, but great guy, really knowledgeable, and somebody who I basically learned a huge percentage of my knowledge from, really just experiential, just going through his programs and watching my body just achieve things that I never thought I could,
Totally.
on my own or naturally.
Yeah. I wish I met Eric or someone like Eric when I first came to the United States, because I only met here in the desert. We're in Palm Springs, Palm Desert area. Well, Palm Desert is the city, but we call it Palm Springs because everyone knows Palm Springs.
Yeah.
And I met some Olympians here, but they didn't recommend going the natural way, to say the least. And that got me discouraged. And then later on, I thought maybe I'll do like a meal prep, start a meal prep company, do something in that way. If I didn't even know about natural bodybuilding here, competition here. So they pretty much told me you have to choose whether you actually want to become a bodybuilder or you just want to, try what you can accomplish naturally. And yeah, long story short, I left back to Europe for over a year. And when I came back to the United States, I took a completely different route. But obviously, health fitness was always with me. So I'll be curious to hear your also talking about nutrition, which we can touch on and share some advice later on. But I wanted to hear about your training style as well, which obviously is very important. Is it more Manson / John's style, more Arnold style, 6 hours workouts? What was your training regimen?
Yeah. So, I've dabbled with all of those. And what I found has worked is isolation, muscle group isolation, and focusing on 1 to 2 times, one body part 1 to 2 times per week. There's so much science out there. You have all of these guys like Metzger, and you got who's the natural guy right now that's the science-based lifter.
Well, the YouTuber, you mean?
What is it?
Is it one of the YouTubers, you mean?
Yeah, one of the YouTubers. He's real popular YouTuber. He's like the science-based, a little shorter. He's the one that just got in that big confrontation at the gym. That guy threw him down or whatever.
I forgot his name, but I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and then you have like Lane Flack, and you have so many guys out there, and you have all these different modes and things that this you have to hit a body part twice or three times a week, and the certain rep range. And I've generally prescribed to, back in the day, I was doing, your chest and triceps and back and biceps, and then the shoulders and the arms and the legs, and I found that muscle isolation to me has been like muscle group isolation has been the most beneficial. But I really do believe that like just consistency in your training is the number one thing. Whether you decide to go the Metzger route or you try to go the traditional 8 to 12 route, I think the differences are so minuscule. The difference is really just staying to a program and sticking to it, and giving it your all. And then your all includes proper sleep and a proper nutrition. You can beat your head against the wall and go to the gym for 6 hours a day, but if you're not fueling your body accordingly, you're not going to be successful with it. And I think genetics play a big role. So I think there's not necessarily a one size fits all program. I think that some people do have just better muscular genetics to build muscle, and that's very proven when you just see guys at the beach that hardly ever work out with these incredible physiques, and you see guys who are going to the gym 5 6 days a week and following strict protocol and just don't have near that same physiques. Nutrition and obviously pharmaceuticals are always going to play a role, but genetics. And so you got to find really what works best for you. And for me, I've always felt that lifting in the 8 to 12 range has been something that has resulted in good results for me. Like Eric Broser, my mentor, he had a program called Power Rep Range and Shock. And that was basically 1 week would be all 4 to 6 reps, compound movements, heavy lifting. The next week would be 8 to 12, your traditional bodybuilding reps, some isolation movements, some compound movements. And then the third week would be a shock week, which is tons of supersets, low rests, lower weight with high reps and big pumps. And the idea was just to kind of keep the central nervous system guessing. And I've found that kind of style is the best. Basically, we're incredible beings. The human being, the human body is just so amazing how it can adapt to so many different circumstances and situations. And so with lifting, I've always had the kind of mentality of continually changing my workout strategies, my rep ranges, my tempos. And even though I'm doing similar exercises, the changing the time under tension and changing that stimulus just a little bit each week, just to continually keeping my body trying to adapt to the new circumstances is what I've found is really the best approach. And it makes sense intuitively knowing how the body adapts, right? So that kind of concept, knowing that, hey, if you do the exact same thing over and over again, our bodies are incredible. They'll adapt to it, and before you know it, that stimulus is not the same to our central nervous system. It's just what we do, and so growth and density and these things slow down.
It's all about learning and growing, I feel like, which is something
Life,
that I put on. It applies to every aspect of life. I put it in
yeah,
as my wallpaper on all devices. Learn and grow, just like you said. Your body learns, and you have to learn about your body as well.
right.
Works both ways because you have to know what movement works best for you, what doesn't work for you, and what can cause injury. And then, of course, you have to grow, like you said, because when you constantly do the same thing, you will probably maintain good results. But if you want to get that little edge, you have to go further. You have to grow. You have to shock your nervous system and then come up with something new. So yes, I agree. And that training style from Eric, I think it makes sense because you constantly shock your body with different angles. Unless you have a goal of becoming an athlete, pro athlete, and you want to focus on one discipline, that's probably what you're going to grow. But and also one thing we have to mention is having fun with it all. You should not be constantly being sad. I know Arnold said it often when he was lifting, when he was hearing the iron clinch, he was smiling. He was always excited about that. He was excited to get back to the gym, and he still is working out at Venice all the time.
Yeah,
And then you had all the older guys that were barely walking, and they were so sore. The soreness was through the roof. They didn't recover well, and they had pain, and they didn't enjoy the pain, and they didn't win. We're not taking the first place from him or guys like him, and that was a big lesson from Arnold, and his books are also great stories, and all of the lessons that he shares throughout his books outside of politics, which I'm not a big fan of. But in general, politics is not my topic. But outside of that, I think he has a very interesting story, and you can learn a lot from his journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit a good, big, huge part of it. Is just you got to have fun with it, and you got to enjoy, in a sense, enjoy the pain. And but growth is pain. Pain is growth. And one of the things that's crazy about lifting, especially as I've gotten older, is I see so many people. I'm an extreme athlete, so I do downhill mountain biking, and snowboarding, and surfing's like my passion in life. And I've had plenty of injuries, and anytime I stop training and get back to it, I have all these flare ups. I have a torn rotator cuff here. I herniated my C5, C6 disc. I got some lower spine things. I've had two ACL reconstructive surgeries. I mean, it's incredible the deck that's stacked against me. But when you just commit, when the counterintuitiveness of training is pretty unique and so profound, because you have injuries or not energy, too much work, and all these things. But when you just commit to training, it's amazing how the body has the ability to heal itself. I really believe that through fitness, we have so many ailments that we can heal. And my last transformation, I did a YouTube series last year called the AAD Comeback. And part of when I lost my business, I went back to Oregon, and I've got three little kids now, and just kind of fell into a tough time, and I was becoming, and I had the ultimate dad bod. And I realized I have two little boys that are looking up to me, aspiring to be like me. And I realized it was time for me to make a change. And I knew the number one place to make a change was through my physique, my body, how I took care of myself. But I had all these problems. My neck was really giving me a bunch of issues, and my shoulder was not allowing me to do push-ups, and my knee was flaring up every time I stepped up a stair. But I realized that these were all just excuses. And so through the process, the AAD comeback on the YouTube series, I lost 45, actually lost 50 pounds. I went to Vegas and did 4 bodybuilding shows and won my pro card in natural physique masters and natural physique men's open, and just had this incredible transformation. But through that process, all of my aches and pains and injuries, just they got better. It was just incredible just to watch how, and something, I knew from my experience and from my knowledge in fitness, but to go through it and feel it and just face it and go, I'm going to go do whatever I can. And what I could do was limited at first, but by the end of it, it was completely different. It was just amazing to watch and to know what the body really is capable of when you just commit to this lifestyle.
Absolutely. Yes. Through movement, we heal as well. I'm a big proponent of that. I know it's painful, but if you are not moving that part, every time something is going to break after this. So you have to stop it. You have to move. Every coach that I worked with in the past told me the same thing. You let the blood flow into that area. You don't have to obviously
Yeah.
the way you normally lift or do crazy movements that cause huge pain, because that's, next level inflammation. But you definitely cannot stop completely from moving and
Yeah.
work that area. I would be curious, as a natural bodybuilder, are peptides coming to play? Are they allowed, like BPC 157, TB 500, or anything like that?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I have a buddy, Dan Bilzerian is.
Yes, I was about to ask you if you did some meal prep for him or training with him.
Yeah, so he was the best man at my wedding, and we're super close. But I even remember the Dan and Dave commercials back in the Reebok days, way back when the two Olympians. We always joke around because I'm the natural guy, he's the opposite side, and he's big time on, and he's always peptides are not cheating, and I'm like, dude, I believe that they are, but at the same time, cheating in the realm of athletics, but is it cheating are they unhealthy? And I think that I just have a hard time with, we still don't really know what BPC 157 is. We don't know why it works. We just know it works. Like
Well,
body protection complex. We understand these things. And me with all these injuries, gosh, I would love to take it. I would love to have less injuries. And he's like, you're dumb not to. And some of these organizations actually do allow them. There's some that are outlawed, but some that are allowed. And my mission on it was like, I actually told him last year, I said, if I give it everything I have and I still have the inability to get in shape, and I still have all these pains and stuff, I'm going to consider going on TRT and doing the peptides. But through that process, of being on a strict macronutrient deficit diet, but still meeting my caloric needs for sustaining all my essential markers and such. Through that process, I feel like whatever it is BPC 157 mimics, like it with that's already in our body, I think we have the ability. This is just bro science. This is not me having a scientific background or whatever, but the experiential learning that I had. I think there's something that happens when we pay attention to our nutrition to an extreme level of meaning we're getting the exact same amount of macros, proteins, carbs, fats every single day, day in, day out. We're paying attention to our training and our cardio and our sleep. There's something that happens within the body, whatever BPC 157 mimics, I think our body upregulates it and has the ability to heal within. I felt that. I experienced that with my shoulder pain and with my neck pain and all these things that were going on. And then I experienced when I fell back off of it after the show, the inevitability of kind of falling back into other older eating habits and, going on vacations and going and not training and allowing the slowdown of it, just realizing that there is something naturally that we can do on our own without turning to these pharmaceuticals. And I just get worried. I'm not sure that I'm right by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'm not sure I'm right about not taking peptides, but there's something sinister about it. It seems too good to be true. And in my experience in life, when things come around that are too good to be true, they typically are. You look at the GLP-1, the Ozempic craze that's going on right now, and what's happening to people as far as you're watching these people that have never been able to lose weight just lose all this incredible amounts of weight. But then on the other side, I know the number one indicator of longevity based on the studies that are releasing right now is muscle mass. The number one indicator of longevity is lean body mass. And what are people losing when they're losing weight on these Ozempic peptides? They're losing muscle mass. They're losing fat, of course, but so I say people are stepping over gold to pick up silver in this whole instance of the quest to lose weight, but what weight are they losing and what are they costing themselves in the long run? And so that's just like my concern with it. And so I feel like I'm just in this spot where I still just want to achieve everything I can without taking a single needle, and injecting something that I'm really not certain about. I'm still learning and it's curious and it's exciting. Man, it sounds so exciting to be like, wow, I could recover from this thing I've never recovered from, or I tear your hamstring and you can come back in 4 weeks. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that sounds incredible, but I'm just still on the fence, you know?
Well, I was still to know about the long-term effects of it. I feel like I've yet to come across the major side effects from these peptides. Unlike the Ozempic route, I hear a lot of side effects from that. So, and obviously, please, for all the viewers, uh, we're not doctors here. Please don't take us
Yes.
for anything. We don't want to be causing any trouble here. Yes, with something miraculous about those BPC, TB500 peptides, a combination.
Man, the combination sounds so awesome.
I mean, I tested it. I have to admit, I did. And a lot of friends did the same, or actually, a lot of friends started doing this. Like one of my friends was playing soccer and he's 240 type of guy. So soccer's shouldn't be his sport. And he's
Yeah.
used to be a pro hockey player. Now he is just a recreational fitness guy, and he's lifting heavy. And he ended up playing soccer after 10 minutes, torn his Achilles tendon. So he had a
The
surgery.
worst.
He didn't even finish. He didn't do the injections, but he did the pills and BPC only 157 pills. He didn't even finish the whole bottle, and he started walking. Obviously, it wasn't right after the surgery. I think a couple of weeks later. But yeah, I mean, it was nasty injury. Still took him like 6 months to like recover to the point where he can walk. It was start to swell a lot, but once he got on the BPC peptides, this thing like started to heal. The doctor gave him another 9 to 12 weeks. After 4 to 6 weeks, he was pretty much able to walk without crutches, without anything, and he still feels good. So there's something miraculous about those. And like I said, this is just one of the many stories from friends and circle here, not only in bodybuilding, but in general, people that are putting their bodies to the limit, let's say, where that inflammation is really serious and makes you really hate your day sometimes when you feel the pain, you wake up with pain, you go to sleep with pain. So something about them. But I understand your take and I respect it, of course.
Well, I'm like I said, I'm totally on the fence. Like I keep saying, like, if I get another injury, I'm going to, like, and I have these aches and pains and things. And trust me, it's exciting. It sounds amazing. And like you're saying, these stories, Achilles is supposed to be over a year, of recovery, and you're really never the same. And you're watching these guys, case in point, that are just, I knew a guy who tore his bicep, and like 4 weeks later, he was back training, cowboy throwing, like, I was just like, this is, it's incredible. And I just feel like, yeah, I mean, trust me, I
Yeah.
want to. I want to, I believe our bodies are capable of so much more than we give them credit for. And kind of my standpoint and my whole foundation was kind of built on, hey, let's do it the natural way, just like the food I serve out of the food truck. Let's keep it as clean and natural and see what we're capable of. And yeah, it'll be,
You could obviously that makes sense. There's also a lot of things such as that you can do without it. For example, hot and cold exposure that has been working really well for my inflammation.
yeah.
Red light therapy lamp behind me, or maybe you could see.
Yep. I see that. Yeah.
So I have that. I've been using this for years, not like on a daily basis, but pretty much probably every other day. I take it to the mountains when I go to Mammoth, or we went last time. I did before we went to Mammoth. We went for a week to Big Bear to kind of like get my body used to the high
Elevation.
altitude. Because every time I spend more than 24 hours in Big Bear, I had headaches for 5 days, and I passed out once in the restroom, and that was very, very pricey, and I had a bunch of stitches on my eyes.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, they took me to the hospital, didn't know what's happening. I fell unconscious, which is something related to the vasovagal nerve syncope episode. Your nerve that goes through your entire body. When that nerve is stimulated, my body gets into an SOS state by going
Yeah.
from 130 to 140 heart rate to 30, and my body essentially just drops. I had my Apple Watch, and I was telling the doctors, maybe that will help. Look, I have my, and when I got my conscious back, like, look, my Apple Watch went crazy. You can see on the graph, went from all the way, such a high heart rate to like not almost nothing, and then
Wow.
back down. So that was the thing. And in Mammoth Lakes, where you're right now, I did my red light before every morning. I did methylene blue because it helps. I read from a professor from Switzerland, a YouTube video. The YouTube video had probably 3 views, that type of, but he was studying methylene blue for years. And before it went like popular right now. And he said that the combination with the near infrared red light therapy stimulus and methylene blue helps with carrying oxygen throughout the body. And I don't know if this was mentally me just essentially affirming, hey, this is going to help me. But we went pretty much for a week snowboarding every day. I didn't feel anything, any side effects. And I checked my blood oxygen as often as I can, because that was a indicator. My blood oxygen dropped as well with that heart rate fluctuation. So that was helping. So red light, ice bath, hot and cold exposure. If you have an inflammation, I read recently about red peppers. If you have those patches, they usually have that element from red peppers or chili peppers. I can't pronounce it right now. It starts with C, capsi something,
To come.
probably something like that. So essentially, it allows when you put it. This goes back thousands of years when they used it. When you put a patch on an inflamed area of your body, it essentially drives blood all the way to that area and focuses on that area. So those are the things that you can do as well outside of the better body compounds and then the TB500 and some other peptides. Obviously, you have to allow your body, give your body some time. But yeah, those are the things that I read recently and tested obviously all of myself. I like to
Yeah.
experiment and see what.
Yeah. I mean, you can read all the studies in the world, right? But until you feel it, and sauna and cold plunge are two big things that you gotta like commit to for a while to start feeling the benefits of them. And yeah, it's pretty profound though. I'm a huge proponent of it as well. So
Absolutely. So let's touch on nutrition again. So what now as far as like recommendation for us all, what's your way of staying healthy through nutrition? Maybe not how many meals per day because that will vary for everyone, but what
yeah,
should you be eating to stay healthy, have a balanced diet and be able to achieve some sort of fitness success to, maybe not stage ready, obviously that's different, but being healthy.
stage ready is not always healthy, and most of the time it actually isn't. We're trying to achieve and is that healthy manner. And so like really when it comes to nutrition, my philosophy is like there's three macronutrients and each one of them serve a really specific function in the body. And you hear all these fad diets that are eliminating one of the three macronutrients or more, the carnivore, or you get the paleo, or you get, or the keto, or you get these low fat diets. And my approach is simple. Is just keeping it pretty balanced. I think protein's the building blocks for muscle, and muscle knowing muscle's the number one indicator to longevity. And typically when people are trying to be fit, they're trying to lose body fat. And so a lot of times when we're trying to lose body fat, you have to be in a calorie deficit. You absolutely have to. You have no choice, right? There's no way to lose weight unless you are in a calorie deficit. That's just the way it is. So when you're in calorie deficit, you need to make sure, like I try and subscribe more protein because protein contains essential amino acids and they're essential. If you don't have enough of them, your body will find them out of the muscles that you have, right? um, Upping your protein levels to, there's different percentage points that people say to 40 or 60% of your diet from protein, but a sensible amount. I subscribe typically on a very average diet. If I'm going to suggest something, I would say 1 pound of 1 gram of protein per desired pound of body weight. So if you're 280 pounds, you don't need to necessarily eat, and you want to be 200 pounds, you don't necessarily need to eat 280 grams of protein per day, but you could eat 220 grams of protein a day. And that kind of goes protein and carbs about the same, about 1 gram of carbohydrates per pound of desired body weight, and then about 20.25 to point 0.5 grams of fat per pound of body weight. If you're 200, if you're 200, if your ideal is 200 pounds of lean body mass, then you would get 25 to 50 grams of fat per day. So basically, there's not one size fits all, but there's a general kind of guideline to follow. And that's 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, 1 gram of carb, and then about 0.25 to point 0.5 grams of fat per pound of body weight. But it all comes down to where you're choosing it. In my opinion, it really does matter, even though it's calories in versus calories out, your quality of calories, your quality of meats, your quality of carbohydrates and fats. Picking very simple, clean sources. Carbohydrates should really it boils down to rice, brown rice, sweet potatoes, some fruits, not too much because just the nature of the sugars in there and how they're converted into the bloodstream, and keeping just a very homeostasis like approach to consistency in diet. If you choose to do intermittent fasting, go for it. Be consistent with it. If you choose to eat 4 meals a day, go for it. Just be consistent with it. I think the body craves consistency. And so when we provide an environment like that, that just calms down the internal environment inside and it allows for the change to happen that we want to happen. It's when we decide to go off the rails. For me, I used to always have a cheat day, and that always led me back to the path that I wanted to stay away from. Was I would look forward to Sundays and the cheat day Sunday. I would eat just an insane amount of calories, and even though I still was making progress, I was still fixating on foods that eventually were going to take me down. And I'm people who know me and know me that I've been the guy who's had tons of comebacks, meaning I've been in phenomenal shape, and 6 months later I've been right back where I started. Like, whoa, what happened to you? And I'm like, wow, shoot, like I got problems with the way I look at food. And so my whole mission and my concept with diet is obviously in order to get anywhere with fitness is you have to apply some extreme discipline, right? Like balance is really good for keeping us right where we're at. But most people aren't right where they at, aren't really where they want to be. And so if you want to get somewhere that you're not, you have to apply some extreme things, right? You have to have an extreme amount of discipline and you have to give up a lot. So the yo-yo part of fitness is definitely the hardest mentally. It's not necessarily good for you physically, and something I've always battled with is maintaining a good level of fitness all the time. You know, it's either really really good or back to pretty average. So it's still it's not a secret. It's just not that easy to do in the world that we live in. And you go to a grocery store, you go to fast food, you go to any restaurant, you're kind of heading in the wrong direction, unfortunately. You really have to be really on it and dialed and disciplined and have a really good look at have to have a really good relationship with food and why you eat this food and fuel and what it's doing for you.
That's a good point, having good relationship with food. And I would say until I didn't started focusing on the relationship with food, I wasn't able to maintain as well. And I remember those Sunday, I was waiting until midnight after 6 days of
Yeah.
for dieting. And then I went to Walmart, which was the only store that was open after midnight, grocery store, and I would go crazy at Walmart, eat the whole thing for probably 18 hours all Sunday because I couldn't eat after like 5, 6 p.m. I was so full. I couldn't eat anything at all for a day. So fast probably until Tuesday and then I'll diet again. So that was working well. And I also, like you said, counting macros. One thing I did, if I'm sure you've heard about if it fits your macros type of approach, that was phenomenal. I think one of the best shapes I had, but this was so time consuming. I know we have AI now where you take a picture of food and
Yeah.
kind of works. But if you really want to do, if it fits your macros, you have to be really to the calorie with it. But I've had amazing results with those. So you have to pick your spectrum. I'm with you on that. Yeah, finding that building the good relationship. And I started realizing that I don't have it because all of my friends were telling me that. I almost became that food Nazi where
Yeah.
I didn't feel I didn't feel comfortable being around bad food, let's say, or processed food. And then also I started making others feel bad
Right.
with me in the room. And obviously, you're not unless you live in Venice, it's or maybe some parts of Florida, Miami, or somewhere where everyone is taking care of themselves and how they eat, and you only have those options. Unless you're there, it's very difficult to obviously maintain that relationship with others and with food. So I started realizing that, and honestly, I've never been healthier. I've never feel more. I would say energetic now with the baby. That's more focused for me how to stay energetic with
Yeah.
so much around. But yeah, that relationship has was the key in it all, and been able to maintain probably between 8 and 10% body fat for years now. But like you said, also it's not where I ideally would like to be in. So there's always that need to like go a little bit lower, push to the next edge. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's always a good topic. But to summarize, so overall, healthy carbohydrates, so rice, sweet potatoes you've mentioned, brown rice. You had some fruit in there for fats. I'm assuming fats would be from animal fat, from the some
Fats and then
other
avocados and good oil like olive oil or almond oil or just simple, not over processed, highly refined oils that start to degrade those essential fatty acids and stuff. And I mean, butter like from a grass fed cow, all are good sources. But what I found is in the quest, and everybody's different, but for me, I do much better on a lower fat diet. And I experimented back when keto was becoming really big, 7, 8 years ago. And, everybody said, oh, fats are so vital. And they are. But I think because of the density of the caloric total of a fat gram being 9 calories per gram and so much more work for the body to actually to break it down, but it doesn't necessarily fill you up more. My tendency when I really started letting the fats just kind of go, it was a time it was very difficult for me to lose fat. And so even going in the keto diet, and I know my calories were probably just a little out of whack, but I felt like in order to lose weight, on a higher fat diet. I really felt like I had to do more work for how hungry I was, given a more sensible approach to a little lower fat, moderate carbohydrate, and high protein diet, which what I've always found is when I'm in the quest to lose body fat is always been has been best approach for me and quite a few of the clients that I've helped transform as well. And that's just, experiential. And I know there's a lot of research out there. And that's the thing about this field of fitness these days is, we're on this internet day and age where anybody can look up the information and there's so many studies out there. And whatever study you choose to pick and choose from, you can act like an expert. And there's a lot of people out there that are experts that will chastise you for having an opinion. And so it's definitely kind of it's an interesting time in the world, if you will, of like having an opinion because when you have one, there's always somebody who wants to tell you you're an idiot for having that opinion or you're wrong. And so my mission has really just been to do what I do and try and take a very cautious approach to giving advice, but sharing advice and then hopefully sharing my personal experience and then how I have gotten results to be kind of the defender of my position, I guess.
And you can't really fake the amount of years that you've gone through and collecting that experience from not only from your perspective, but from your clients' perspective, people around you, people that you coach, trained, or trained with, or your coaches. So combine that compounded effect of knowledge and expertise of how body works, what works on specific people and your body type is something you can't really fake. So I'll be curious to hear if you ever tried to actually tap into that online space and coach at a global scale pretty much and educate people on nutrition and how to achieve optimal health and fitness levels.
Yeah, so I do. I started this whole process as just a one-on-one personal trainer and cooking for my clients and stuff. And then as it grew, as the business grew, as the food truck started taking over, I started moving into like the online space, which kind of followed along my mentor's footsteps. And Eric Brozer, he lived in Florida and I lived in Vegas, and he trained me for years and with great results. And so I could start doing this for some people. And so over the years, I've done it, and I do a very personalized approach because I think there's so much. We talk about you mentioned it, you hit a little bit earlier with the placebo effect as far as um, there's something so powerful about the effect of the placebo, about believing, and that was something that I'm big on when we train. If I train one on one, I'm so talking about each and every muscle fiber we're using and why we're using it throughout the exercise, and trying to get the muscle to stretch and hold and then contract and putting your mind to the body. And I think there's so much correlation between that and the belief that there's coaches out there that have far more knowledge than I do and are much more studied than I am, but the ability to connect with the client, the ability to connect with somebody one-on-one and make them believe that they're capable of doing something incredible, to meeting their goals and exceeding their goals. It's more than just saying, hey, do this workout and eat this food. It's getting the mind to connect to it. And so that's why there's so many online coaches out there, and it's awesome because I might not be the best for you, but I could be the best for somebody else, and you got to find who you connect with and who you believe in. And that's one of the things that'll always really resonate with me and my clients is that I just really genuinely care about their well-being and I want the best for them. And I think that's always shined through in my one-on-one coaching. And something I've always wanted to do was, yeah, get to a bigger scale. When I started this diet program, this food program was so exciting because I wanted to have control over people's diets in the sense of helping them eat cleaner, to be able to achieve something that they didn't even know was possible. But if they were just to commit to eating this food for 12 weeks at a time, how I could actually I could have an impact on their lives that would last forever because they could achieve something they never thought they could before. And so that's why it was so exciting when this food truck grew. It grew at the World Series of Poker with poker players. Who knew that's where it would be, where I could have this time with these thousands of clients and watching people just go, wow, I feel so much better. I'm making better decisions. I'm losing weight for the first time. Diabetics were coming to me and saying, hey, my insulin level is just balanced out. I don't have to take nearly the insulin I used to take, having this positive impact on people. And in the same way with the training, tapping into, a broader scale to be able to work with more people than just the people I'm able to communicate with one on one is been one of my dreams for a long time, and it's still there. But I get bogged down. It's not as easy as just, oh, let's do it this way, and trying to figure out the right recipe has been something we've been working on for a long time. And I've had people that are a guy who's been working with me trying to get me to do this online cookbook and online training program. And we've tapped into the school network and starting that. But it's tough when you get spread out and you spread thin and you need help. You need more people around you to make it happen.
And school network, or do you mean the platform school.com
Yeah, school.com, the Hormozzi's thing.
or Mo and
Yeah.
Sam Alvin's? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and it's cool, and I just trying to figure out how to, the digital side of things is always, look, we took how long did it take us to get on this podcast today? And I couldn't even download, so I'm a little old school in that department where whatever's in front of me, I tackle, but sometimes I get a little bogged down with the technology side of things, and I'm guilty of trying to do everything myself in my life. I come from a pretty humble beginnings and had felt like I had a lot to prove to people that I was still capable of doing things, and that's probably been an Achilles heel for me as far as real growth happens. You need what I've learned in life is we're only so capable of so much on our own. Every one of us has gaps that needs to be filled, and putting the right people around you and getting the right network around you and support to grow things is the only way to really take it far. Like the saying says, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. Realize, recently I've really been realizing that if you really want to make a difference, a positive difference, and I do in this world, you cannot just think you can do it alone. And learn and grow, like you said. I'm still right there.
There's a season of learning and a season of earning. So we have to appreciate both seasons. But to your point, I think school is a fantastic platform for you. I was actually about to ask you about that. So you're already ahead of that. I would probably, I can share my opinion. I'll do everything for free on school except your transformations. So you just show up there, build the community organically. You have such an incredible story that no one can fake. Like I said, years of experience, ton of different perspectives, not only your perspective, your coach's perspective, your clients, etc. Like I said, and you're actually doing it yourself, and you're actually having a food truck business, providing food, making it more delicious, because that's the biggest thing. If you eat
Pretty
every
good.
day something that you don't enjoy, you're not going to have a good relationship with food. And that was me for probably 14 years of my life until my wife came around and started realizing that how can you even eat this? You don't even enjoy eating it. And I was not really paying attention to the quality. I mean, quality, yes, of course, but not to the taste of it. I was only about the macros and
Right.
what it will do for me. But that build that bad relationship. You cover all of those angles. So I would definitely just put it out there. I know it sounds easy, but in any raw, authentic format, you can do something as simple as putting your phone like that and recording, talking about it, uploading it to YouTube. Probably YouTube would be enough. Maybe Instagram and YouTube if you have maybe down the road someone who can help, because Instagram is fantastic for those programs. YouTube is going to give you enough traffic, and then put everything out for free on the platform. Specific information, education, talk about your stories, get people on, and if they want to take it to the essentially, yeah, it sounds cliche now, next level, but if they actually want to get dialed in, maybe that's a better word, then you
Right.
have 6 or 12 weeks body transformation where you would that could be a paid premium version. On school, they can you have your courses and all of that, right? So you could probably host maybe once a week a call with everyone in the premium group, or provide obviously the course and how to do the meal prep, what apps to use. Now you have AI, so you have to include which tools are tested and are easy to use, and obviously how to maybe do a grocery list. I mean, Alex Hermosi had his gym space, so he talked in his books always. He brings up always the examples from the fitness industry, how he grew all of those gyms and then all the fitness coaching programs that he has built. So it's essentially making it extremely simple for your premium clients to essentially not make any mistakes and just follow the protocol for 6 to 12 weeks. So, meal prep, where to shop, the grocery list, how to order. I mean, nowadays you can probably have a pre-populated target, on the Target app list of foods that they need to order, or, Walmart or any other platform. You just send it to their phone and they connect with the local, grocery store, and they deliver it to their doors. So they're literally, it's never been easier to do, meal prep, and actually, it's like you said, it's easy, but it's not simple. It's never been
Yeah.
with all the tools out there and options. You don't even have to leave your house to get the proper food and nutrition delivered to you. And but it's not simple because, yeah, we still find reasons to be, lazy, or can't be motivated for, or consistent. Consistency is the word you've mentioned multiple times. So it's consistent for, 6 to 12 weeks. And on the other hand, it's incredible what we can accomplish with consistent action over those, 90,
Yeah.
90 plus days. Or
90 days. You could change your life in 90 days if you're willing to, it's pretty profound.
yeah. So those are my 2 cents. I hope you didn't mind it.
No, I love it. It's right. I'm pretty tough on myself as far as, when it comes to trying to put something out. I go back and forth about, one of the hardest parts of life is taking criticism, and when you put yourself out there online, there's a lot of it, there's a lot of anger and things that aren't necessarily when you're talking to people one on one, you don't get that same feeling. But the haters or whatever you'll call it, it's one of those deals where I've always admired, like Dan, for example, the amount of online hate that he gets and how he's just able just to deal with it. I'm like, dude, how do you do that? Because I couldn't. Like, it hurts me in my soul, and but
Yeah.
it's another part of life of learning that you're not going to make everybody happy no matter how hard you try.
It's a
It's
wild
tough.
west out there. Obviously, there's no recipe other to probably follow what Dan is doing to deal with that, because there's no one else that would come to mind that has more experience with dealing with that. But you don't have to really tap into those, I like to call Twitter, or now X wars.
Yeah.
I follow a guy who's his Twitter handle is, I believe, metabolic or anabolic, something like that. And he's a young guy who's doing a lot of research, and all he does is testing it himself and reading all kinds of literature and sharing what he learns. And cool guy. He's now, the new big thing is the FGF 121 type of approach. I'm not sure if you heard about the hormone there, but it's essentially speeds up your metabolism if you are sugar fasting, the honey diet. So there's this hormone FG21 in your body, or enzyme, that is being released when you have higher blood glucose. So you eat fruits, nothing else, no protein, essentially. And he was talking about a very controversial topic, as you can imagine, more controversial than the state of ketosis. And he has some following there. And one day, a couple of weeks ago, he posted in a row, like literally every minute, he posted one sentence saying, "Water is bad for you. Water is really good for you. Protein causes cancer. Protein heals everything in your body." Just random stuff. He tweeted it for like 4 or 5 minutes every single, and you would be surprised what happened. People obviously didn't do research on himself, start hating him, live threads, and all kinds of things you can imagine that can happen. And if you just
Right.
profile, and you saw that he was actually, seeing it, doing as an experiment just for fun, pretty much, or seeing how, just proving, what, to your point, what, people that have absolutely no idea who you are, what do you do, and take it, like, this information is the most precious information in the world, and this is against their belief and what have you. And they got so agitated by that. So that was funny, the funniest thing I've seen on X, literally, because that just showed, and all of those went viral. You had the negative
Right.
when he said, protein causes cancer or whatever, some negative stuff, got X to 10X the reach. So he reached hundreds of thousands of people immediately, pretty much the first couple of hours. The positive side, so for example, water is good for you or something like that, got almost, 5 to 10 times less engagement, almost no engagement comparison to that. But it was just funny to see that no matter what you post about, whether it's good, when you know it's actually a fact, or if it's in someone's mind, it's completely BS, and nothing that nothing that they would believe and associate them with. So it doesn't matter. There was always those people, but yeah, we have to learn how to deal with that. That's a skill. That's an art. For that moment, for that experience, I have my Stoics that
Yeah.
he teaches us for thousands of years how to do it. But I know it's been a while, and you have to get back to work, David. I wanted to ask you last question, and I'm curious to hear your feedback on and your answer to that. If you had an opportunity to sit across the table from the young Dave starting out, what advice would you share with him?
Just yeah, just even on that same level of just understanding that like just follow your passions and just be committed to it and don't allow the opinions of others to sway you away from what you believe. And I'm still battling with that today. Something that I probably one of my weaknesses is being somebody that I like to be liked, but that in order to to stand for something, sometimes you got to be on a different side of the fence, and that's okay. But you can love everybody, but you don't necessarily have to have everybody love you or like you. But just stay true to who you are, and just to go for things, even if you're the only one that believes it. Too often I've let myself get sidetracked away from something that I was achieving success at, just to be more um pliable, to be more likable to a certain group of people, to just to what I want to teach my kids, the same thing I want to teach my kids is like find your passion and go for it with all you have, and just to stay focused and just not worry so much about what things you can't control. That's the it's a broad thing, but in my life, and especially in the transition I'm at, I mean, right now, it's such an interesting time to even do this podcast because if you would have caught me in 2019 when I had 65 employees and doing $700,000 in sales in 2 weeks, I mean, in 2 months out of a food truck and going to Fiji and surf, I mean, living the life and having success. And then where we're at now is just coming back from the absolute bottom of the barrel. But that's the thing is where I feel good about is I'm going back to my passion. I'm not letting past failures or things that have caught me up in the past just keep me down. It's just a matter of I doesn't don't have to have a lot. I just have to be passionate. I know that's something that I need in my life, and if I'm not chasing it, I feel empty. And so here I am in the middle of this, and I'd love to talk to you again in hopefully a year and be like, wow, what that time when we had that podcast, I was struggling, but we are digging our way back and hope, believe that the future is bright and just got to follow the principles that I know have worked in the past and then also learn from the mistakes I've made in the past and apply them to this thing going forward.
Absolutely. And I was about to say that in a few years from now, we'll watch that episode and we'll look back how far we've come and how
Yeah.
we deal with it. Also, I have no idea how someone could not like you in person or online. So I can't wait to actually meet you in person. Hopefully, we'll drive up to
Yeah,
Maine
let's go. Let's hit the mountain.
in the next couple of months, maybe weeks time flies. So we'll see. Perhaps when the season starts, we'll make our way up there. And then, thirdly, I hope that we will inspire at least one person to do that challenge for stay consistent for 45 to 90 days, change their life, optimize their health through nutrition, fitness, movement. I'm a big fan in general of movement. If you don't like lifting iron, do any other kinds of movement. Just stay in tractions, keep moving.
Movement is medicine and motion is lotion.
But
Those are my two things that I live by and tell people, and it's the truth. And you're right. If you don't like to lift, you don't have to. But lifting is fun, and getting stronger is important, and it is fun. And yeah, it's amazing what can happen in 90 days time. You could be the lowest point of your life, and you could 90 days later completely look back and go, "Wow, I can't believe where I was and where I am today." And it's that's what's so beautiful about fitness and health is that when you take care of yourself, you're doing more than just it's not just about you. It's about those around you, it's about your family, it's about your loved ones. And it really is so incredibly powerful that it's neat to be able to, like you said, if you can inspire one person to do that, wow, that could have just inspired millions. And it's pretty special.
absolutely. And with that, I wanted to say thank you so much for your time this morning. I look forward to see you again, like I said, in the near future. Thank you so much for in the name of all the viewership, for all the lessons and wisdom you've shared. Until we meet again.
All right. Hey, great talking to you. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Dave. Bye bye.
See you later.